Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Dr. Frank Clayton, and I want to welcome you to today's session. Today, I'm joined by longtime dental industry professional working in dentistry and marketing for 30 years, over 30 years, Lori Bernardo with Amplify 360. Lori, welcome. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Great. Today, we're going to talk about something every dentist, including myself, thinks about, and it's getting more patients. And specifically, there's three ways to attract more patients to your practice without burning out. And we're going to talk about them. Throughout my career, I've thought of this as a topic that comes up all the time. So we're going to get the numbers from our annual salary survey. We had talked about that in a previous webinar,
Mhm.
and something really stuck out to all of us, including myself, and Lori and I have talked about this. Here are some numbers for you dentists listening. 45% of surveyed dentists are satisfied with their practice growth. Now that's down 11% from the year before. So that's in a decline. Actually, only 30% are happy with their marketing agency. And I think that's slightly higher than the rate for Congress for satisfaction, but 30% is not good. That means 70% are unhappy with it. And 25% say it's difficult to track how leads are converted to actual patients. I mean, we're dentists. We work in the operatory. We're buzzing all day, and at the end of the day, you're exhausted. You're dealing with employees. So, how does all this work? And today we're going to talk about it. And Lori, what I want to talk about is I want to spend some more time on marketing. I want to hire the right people to do this because I'm a dentist. I don't have time to do it.
Mhm.
But I'm worried about the numbers. So tell me what your take is on this.
Yeah, those numbers really, Frank, are very shocking, right? When you talk about the majority of dentists and presumably in the survey, right? These are specific questions to marketing, and they're people who are investing money in marketing. For so many dentists that I talk to, and I'm sure in your world, in your ecosphere, marketing really is considered a necessary evil, right? Now, if you think marketing won't work, you're right. If you think it's great, you're also right. How can those two statements be said in the same right after one another? Because it really just depends on if you have the right partner or not, right? So, a lot like dentistry, marketing gets labeled as a have to do or a painful, uncomfortable experience. And as a dentist, right, there is, more to it than more to dentistry than that. Yet patients feel that way, right? Patients feel that dentistry is a
Oh, yeah.
necessary evil, but it really doesn't have to be. And we know that in your world, and it was my world for a long time too, in the clinical sphere, is that when that right patient finds the right dentist, the right care provider, it's an outstanding and wonderful thing. There's a relationship, there's respect. Both the doctor and the patient work together to achieve that optimal well-being for the patient. Those patients, they don't feel like it's a necessary evil, do they?
No,
They
no.
don't have negative feelings about their dentist. In fact, you'll hear people say, I love my dentist, right?
I love it when people say that. I always cherish that. That was one in a few, but it made your day when you heard it.
Yeah. And why is that? It's because the connection happened, right? The right connection. And it really is the same with marketing, right? When it's not working, it feels like a necessary evil because things have gone wrong, right? In that relationship. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can have that symbiotic relationship where both parties win and they love working together towards that practice's growth. In all of our years working with dentists, and when I say that, I mean collectively, myself and collectively with Amplify 360, we've learned the biggest reasons why marketing doesn't work and what you should look for in a successful strategy. And for today's discussion, I think we boiled this down to 3 points.
Yep. In there, let's call them three problems. We'll address them and we'll dig into them.
Mhm.
But it's interesting because the boards I'm on, whether it's Dental Town, Facebook, there's other dental boards. I always hear this marketing didn't work. Maybe 3 out of 10 did. So Lori and I are going to dive in today of why we think And we know because there's research behind it, like Lori said, there's numbers that cover this, why they don't work. And it's spaghetti on the wall, and you're just throwing it there and see if it works. You don't have the time and energy to do it. Partner with someone that does, and it does work.
Mhm.
All right. So let's talk about the first one, Lori. So this problem number one is going to be marketing without real practice data.
Mhm.
And this is a strategy where some marketing companies will just say, yeah, you need to do brochures, or you need to do this. And they're throwing the spaghetti, and they don't really have the numbers that are in your practice, your procedure, your production data, your procedure mix.
Mhm.
So how can they treatment plan without a full diagnosis is the way that I think about this. And I thought about this in marketing, because I can tell people out there, I've tried probably 6 to 10 different marketing companies before I ended my career with Amplify. And this was the big reason, because I look at what some of them did, and that was a 00120. That was a PA exam that the marketing company did, looked at one tooth, and really not comprehensively at my practice.
Mhm.
We need to look at periodontal, the bone, everything you
Everything,
do in a comprehensive
right?
exam. No different in marketing. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you treat the patient the best for the best outcomes? Same thing with Amplify. Look at everything. So, Lori, what do you see in this? The difference that Amplify does, because you're looking under the hood and you're seeing the numbers, so you see what drives the practice.
Correct. Yeah, that's the number one problem, right? Is that they're marketing without any real practice data, right? So most marketing companies make decisions about what to do with your marketing budget based on what they can see. And like you said, sometimes it's because that they're recommending mailers because that's what they do, or they're recommending Facebook ads because that's what they do, right? This it's really they're only looking at what happens in their world or in the digital world. And then they're looking at things like impressions, clicks, call duration. And don't get me wrong, there is purpose to that data, right? When you're doing, especially in digital, which is mostly where we're talking about today, you need that direct data, right? Because it tells it's the baseline, the foundation of what's happening. However, like you said, you can't they cannot see your production or your case mix or your schedule. They're flying blind with your money. They don't really know if it's working, and they don't know how to show it. So they talk to you about these digital metrics, right? And make assumptions. And I know you've sat on those meetings, Frank. I've heard doctors tell me, I don't know what they're talking about. They talk to me about clicks and impressions, and I don't really know what that means. All I know is I need patients in my chair, right? That's what they're telling me, right? So they make these assumptions about these metrics. Well, Dr. Frank, your impressions have gone up 30%. Great. But did the phone ring, right? Did you actually get the right patients scheduled? Are those patients sticking around for treatment? And ultimately, are they improving your collections? And then what is the real value of those patients that came in through the market over time, right?
That's this key, and that's what I wanted to know in practice. ROI, of course, but how do you know the ROI if you don't know the value of the patient? And it's not just for one procedure.
Right.
There's lifetime value, there's referral value of patients that they refer to.
That's right.
And if you don't track it, you kind of go, well, it wasn't a success. I think a lot of docs, me included, early stages, didn't know if the marketing worked because you didn't track it. But in hindsight, yeah, they referred. That one patient may have not have done a lot of treatment, but they referred 10 patients.
Right.
So, I know you guys are tracking that,
Mhm.
and you use a proprietary assessment tools. Tell me about that part, because that, honestly, when it got into that in my practice, that's where I trusted you guys enough to hand off and go, okay, this is what you do.
Mhm.
Because it can get in the weeds, and the marketing weeds are totally different than the dental weeds.
Mhm.
So tell me about how you look under the covers of my practice.
Yeah. So really, in the end of the day, we have to really think about the marketing in terms of practice growth, right? The marketing is the machine, it's the mechanism. But really what we're talking about is practice growth. And to understand practice growth, you have to understand all the numbers, right? You have to understand, what kinds of procedures and services you're doing. Which things provide the best value, which patients are bringing the best value, which is, all these things. Where are you leaking revenue? Where are there opportunities to gain revenue? So this is a black hole, right, of understanding. I mean, honestly, practice owners don't know this. If you
No.
ask an average dentist if he knows what his number one revenue producing procedure is, 9 times out of 10, they can't even tell you that data. So
Right.
how do you make goals and make a plan to get there if you don't know any of this data? So we have the same problem as a company, and we sought to solve that problem. And so what we did was we developed a proprietary practice assessment tools that helps us understand just that, right? And we have all of that data. Now, it's like a patient coming into you and saying, Dr. Frank, I want a really beautiful white smile. So I heard, this friend of mine got veneers and they worked really well for her. So that's what I want. You're like, hold up a second. I don't really know if that's really going to solve your issue, your problem, answer your problem, right? We've got to look at all the things. We've got to take the x-rays, do the CBCT, see if you're bruxing, check your overall health. Maybe you have some crowns on the tooth. Maybe it's a combination of veneers and crowns. Maybe you need ortho first. We don't even know yet, right? You can't just slap on a solution until you've looked at the data. So our proprietary tools are able to look into your software, pull out this data, and this helps us really look at a very clear path to your growth. So you want to know at the end of the day, right? So then we put this beautiful plan together and you think, wow, this is great. This is exactly what I'm looking for. But now we have to prove to you, right? 6, 7, 8, 9 months down the line, when I have come to your practice for that new smile through the marketing, what was my value? So at the end, you're going to say, well, Dr. Frank, if you look at this slide here, it shows you invested 41,000 in marketing. The actual revenue that came from those patients that walked through your door, specifically from your marketing, was $177,827. Dr. Frank, does that help you feel confident in your investment in marketing?
Exactly. I look at this as that is the direct realized revenue.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much indirect. Like I said, there's referrals, there's other
Oh,
things
yeah,
that spring from this. So you can really get deep into it
you
and
could.
track it.
That's right.
But it blows up. It's almost exponential what Lori's talking about and what happened in my practice. Small at first. And if you don't get results in 2 days, 2 weeks, with this instant society that we're in, don't be frustrated because it's a comprehensive set of levers, I guess I'll call it,
Mm-hmm.
that where Lori comes in and adjusts things that are set. Like she said, retention. You want to retain patients. You want to train front desk on how to answer calls on this. It's not just throwing brochures out there. It's not just that. So if we haven't hammered home the point that it's comprehensive, the number one problem, marketing without real practice data, if you've just joined, the call and you couldn't find a parking space, work with a team who can integrate your practice data. And I think that's key. This is I made the analogy before. It's a comprehensive exam,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
the value will be seen. It's not in the price, just like your dentistry. The value will be seen in the results. Lori, let's move on to the second one. We could spend a whole podcast talking about that one.
Probably. That's right. Yeah.
I want to go to the second one is dentists don't know marketing, or very few dentists know. We know marketing, and marketers don't know dentistry. Well, some do. So if you picture two circles in a Venn diagram, there's a little overlap. You know enough to know you don't know. You should.
Right.
what impressed me is you spoke dental, which we're all the dentists I'm talking to are keenly aware is if you're in the industry, there's certain things that happen that are unique to us
Mhm.
and you speak them. And when you
Right.
do that, you have a little more trust of like, okay, this is what's happening. Um, and they know what these numbers mean. There are many companies that I've used before that can pull that up, and you could tell they did not understand it, and it was a bad feeling from the beginning. And it was try this, try this, try this, and it's because they were guessing. Um,
Mhm.
I wanted to focus on patients.
Mhm.
Once I found a company I could trust, then you leave it at just like an employee. You leave it in their hands
Right.
to do it. You guys came in, you track things. Yeah, it was tracks and clicks and exposures, but it was also measuring the results at the end.
That's right.
I don't have time to go out and write Facebook ads. Some docs do, and that's great. But I can tell you the best use of your time is in the chair and stepping on the rheostat.
Mhm.
Let these guys do it. Amplify does that. So where does that leave me on dentists don't know marketing,
Yep.
marketers don't know dentistry? I want to say, Lori, it's like a Reese's, and the dentists are the chocolate, and the marketers are the peanut butter.
It should
And
be like a
let,
Reese's, right? Yeah.
let's put it together and make it taste great.
Right.
So where are you on that?
Yeah, and you know what? I really do feel firmly believe that dentists need to be doing what they are trained to do and do best. I you have to make decisions, right? You have to make educated decisions and who you're going to partner with, what you're going to do, but you don't really have to make those decisions on how to make the sausage, right? At the end, we want the sausage, or you want the sausage, right? And that's, I mean, every office meeting I ever sat in the 30 years in this industry, when the team gets together, what's the one thing that always comes up? It's how many new patients we saw this month. That's the top thing. The biggest metric that you want to look at is how many new patients walk through the door that month.
It's
So,
lifeblood.
right?
Yep.
As a dentist, you're not a marketer, right? When you hire a marketing company, there's often a gap because I guarantee you 99% of those marketing people never have sat in a room and heard that comment, that question on every stinking team meeting every month. So, but we do. And we really truly do understand dentistry. Again, marketing is the mechanism, but practice growth comes in understanding how you measure success and help you navigate what that success, that growth path looks like. And believe me, Frank, I talk to doctors, they think it looks one way, and I can help them see that, yeah, that could be a path, but there's a broader path that will work more effectively. And why do we know this? Because we've worked with tens of thousands of dentists in the last 30 years. We have seen what works, we have seen what not works. So your practice is not like any other business. You're not selling sandwiches, you're not selling pressure cleaning services. It's a very different niche market, right? Your version of success is focused on the patients, it's focused on scheduling, it's how your practice works. Again, like I said earlier, is it the right kind of patients? Are they saying yes to treatment? And that's the other piece, right? So
Yep.
we send, right? So we do our job, right? Our job is to pitch the great new patient opportunities to you. When we do that job really well, but what happens if we get in the chair, the patient gets in the chair and they don't come back? Well, most practices, and again, I can tell you, Frank, that most practice owners don't know what their retention data is. They don't know if
Mhm.
they're retaining, and they also don't know what is their treatment case acceptance, a true treatment case acceptance, right? If you don't have a way to measure that, and you don't know what's leaking, then your marketing's not going to work. What
Yep.
we're able to do is we're able to say these are the right kind of patients because we know this is the kind of, we knew through the initial data, the initial patient or practice workup, what kind of patients you were looking for, what kind of growth you wanted, what kind of procedures. And now we see that either not getting there, or better yet, you're getting there. And if you're not getting there, why are you not? And then
Right.
we're able to use the data to go in and figure it out, right? Marketing should be able to answer those questions. And unfortunately, most times they cannot. We know how practices work. We've been doing it, collectively as a company over 30 years. But if you look at the amount of power we have in our team, hundreds of years of dental experience, we know that it's not a one size fits all. And the other thing is, Frank, practice go through phases, right? You're
Yep.
retired from your practice now, right? When you first opened the doors, the most important thing, right, was just fill the schedule.
Warm bodies. That's
Warm
that's what I
bodies,
wanted. Warm
right?
bodies.
And
Yep.
you hear that statement being made, right? But later on in your career, right? What did you want? You didn't want the volume. You wanted patients who follow through on their treatment, who
Right.
stuck with you. You don't want to work more. You wanted to work less, but you wanted to earn more, right?
Yep.
And all that is achievable if you have a plan in place, right? And
And what first of all, I've had marketing companies never ask me what phase of growth I was in or what my goal, they know the goal was more patients, but did they know the goal was more patients because I'm going to add an associate, because I'm going to exit? What is it? So if you looked at the two different versions of this, like you said, you have Dr. A that opened her first practice.
right,
A marketing company needs to know,
right,
how big of a net do I need to cast?
right,
Second doctor, 15 years in practice with 2 locations. I need more of a rifle approach. I need to target these patients,
right.
because if you open the floodgates, you overwhelm the staff, you don't have enough capacity to take it. Um, and this is where a lot of docs and friends of mine have done this, where the marketing agency really didn't ask. They just said, this is what we're going to do without analyzing it.
Right, right,
And of course, that didn't work.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
that
Or it
that
works for a little bit, right? Because
yeah,
in the
it
beginning,
works for
you're
a little bit.
excited, right? Like,
Yes,
oh, look, new patients. But then you find out they're showing up. Well, it's a bunch of 20-year-olds who don't need any dentistry.
right.
Yeah, which
Ex-
is
e-
great for them, not so
right.
great for your practice growth.
The solution here is to work with a marketing company that understands and speaks dental. Let them do it. Vet them and trust them, as you should with your accountant, as you should with your employees, and let them go. That's a true business, is to trust the people that are working with you,
Right.
even if they're not employees. If they're part of your success team, trust them, let them run and do their job. So
Mhm.
Lori, are you seeing a pattern on this?
Yeah, it's here, right? There's reasons why practices are spending more on marketing and still not getting the patients they want. It doesn't have to be that way. If you, like you said, if you came in late, we've talked a little bit of that. The replay will be out if you didn't hear that. And we know that when the right patient finds the right dentist, right, there's a relationship, and the same thing is going to happen with your marketing partner. So, yep.
Beautiful thing. All right. Problem number 3
Mhm,
of the 3. You get reports when you need results.
mhm.
Well, we're going to break that down and tell you what this is. I can tell you from experience, this is transformative. So let's unpack the third problem, holding the dentist to the reports that they want. Amplify can, any agency can overwhelm you with marketing data.
Mhm, mhm.
You need the key metrics. And if there's certain ones that you want to find, I'm a bit of a data geek and I liked other things. So they said, sure, we'll show you those.
Mhm.
They'll give you all the report data that you want. But if it's not speaking dental, if it's 515 and you've seen 35 patients, you're going to zone on that pretty fast. And you're really not going to retain that.
Right.
So what I really want to know is, distill it down, and is it simple? And by tracking patient revenue from that, is it working?
Things like our investment performance analysis, another really great tool, tying you back and understanding actually what you spend on marketing and how it connects back to your production, right? So we don't stop at leads, right? Leads, you call them leads, call them new patient calls, call them whatever you want, but they're people who are reaching out to your practice to schedule an appointment They may make it in, they may not, whatever that stops there. We don't stop there. We show you where your revenue is really coming from and where you're losing it. And we help with that conversion. Big place of leakage is in that call conversion, right? Patients call up, man, they ask questions that just really make it seem like they don't want you to ask them to come in, right?
Right.
And they make it
Right.
difficult for your team, but there are ways to be better at that. And so call training, case acceptance guidance, right? Getting them in the schedule and having your team be trained, right? There's no school for that. Nobody teaches front desk
Right.
people how to effectively deal with the challenges they deal with every day. They're just hoping that they do it right. So it changes. I hope what you all hear is that we are really growth advisors, right? We're going to look at your full
That's a good way to put it. Yep.
we're going to look at your patient mix and more. It's not just about the marketing, it's everything working together, your ads, your website, your data, and your decisions. So I
Yeah.
think that's what really separates us from the rest in everything that we do.
I agree. These are the levers that I was talking about early in the show, where it's not just put people in the door. It's one that leads to point B to point C to point D, and they keep them in the loop. And there's different ways. As Lori just said, there's different ways to do it. But I think a lot of marketing companies, and I know because some that I work with, stopped at, oh, you got 75 new patients this month, and seen. And that was it. There was no, okay, now what? So that's why a lot of docs, we get frustrated with that. So
Mhm.
you don't carry it to the finish line. It's quite frustrating on it.
Right.
Lori, we've talked about a lot. Close us up here. Tell us, how we can get in touch with you, with Amplify, to know more about it. Any details you got would be great.
Yeah, I'd love an opportunity to help any of the listeners out there who hear the message, right, and know there should be a better way. Our team's got a lot of experience, over 30 years of dental native experience, and we're experts in both marketing and dentistry. We help practices get more patients and more of the cases they want and help them grow on their terms. And so, if this is making sense to you, do yourself a favor, book a call. Whether you're unhappy with your current marketing company, which 70% of you are, or just want a better way to connect your marketing to your practice goals, it's a short call and we can help you unlock what's next. So there's a couple of different ways you can reach out to us. If you're viewing this on a screen right now, you can see we have a QR code. You can use that QR code and it'll bring you to a scheduling link, or you could text growth to 470-704-3982. And again, we'll send you the schedule link, or you could go directly to the link provided below. It's www.amplify360.com/schedule a call /. And so any one of those ways. And if you forgot all that, just go to amplify360.com. There's a book a call link in the corner. We will be sending a follow-up email to all the listeners, and so there'll be contact information there. So there's no way you can say you can't find us. You'll be able to find us through one of those methods, and you'll either talk to me or one of my really amazing team members who all kind of approach this the same way. So thanks for having me in the conversation today, Frank. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for being on. And thanks for everybody for listening. Lori, I'm going to ask you back to cover even more later if you'll agree.
Absolutely.
All right. Again, it's Frank Clayton with Lori Bernardo, and we hope you enjoyed it today. We did. Thank you.